Hey, Joe Gill here, and in honor of the latest news with Fidel Castro passing away, I wanted to do Cuba, and all that. So, yes, it's going to be a two-part series. I've actually been there twice, and the first time I went there was in 1995, and that's what I'm going to cover. Was 95. Anyway, to get there, probably wondering. Basically, I had a friend named Steve since passed away. He immigrated to Canada, to Toronto, Canada. They have a lot of nonstop flights out of Toronto to a town called Varadero. Varadero is like their premier resort town. It's sort of like Cancun. It's on like a peninsula, but not as big. It's a sort of short peninsula, and it's got a beachfront road that runs along the peninsula that's basically got a lot of semi-inclusive, all-inclusive hotels. And so you can stay at those places. That's where you can stay. What's a trip about Varadero is like they have that, but then behind it is like all residential area. There's like homes and families and people and living there. So it's like a town, unlike Cancun in a sense. So, yeah. Well, the way to get there, the way I got there, is my friend in Toronto, Steve. He bankrolled me in a sense. He booked the whole trip and the hotel and all that stuff, and I just sort of reimbursed him. And I flew from Toronto, stayed the night at his place. I made my trip for 7 days. I stayed Sunday to Sunday. Flew there all day Saturday, spent the night at his house, and Sunday morning flew to Varadero. That's the place you want to go. We didn't go to Havana. That's not really the resort or the party or whatever. And anyway, so that's how you did. And then when you go down there, when you're going through customs, like I said, as far as Castro is concerned, he's always welcomed tourists. And I just did a video on Tijuana, talking about how the police and how the Mexican police and everybody screws. Cuba's the complete opposite. They totally cater to the tourists. They don't mess with them. The cops don't mess with you. You're as safe as a kitten. You don't really have to worry. They don't. I mean, Castro has laid down strict martial law on its police and its citizens. The law being, do not fuck with the tourists. Don't mess with them, and they don't. So it's cool. It's my favorite place, and I'm surprised I've only been there twice. I've been to Thailand 3 times. I've only been there twice. Anyway, so upon going through customs, you just tell them you have your American passport. You just say no estampar, no stamp. Just tell them not to stamp it and all that. And then don't bring back, don't purchase anything. I had a bunch of people asking me for cigars, and I said, sorry, no can do. I'm not bringing back anything because this was back in 95. So, of course, I wasn't gonna shop or tours or do any souvenirs. So that's how I did it. And today, I guess if you were gonna do it, I would do the same thing. If you wanted to go like on your own or just you and a buddy, if you wanted to go through Canada, especially if you're on the East Coast, I recommend, like you live in Chicago or New York. Yeah, it's just a quick flight up to Toronto, and then boom, it's 3 hours from Toronto to Varadero, because the Canadians tourist there a lot. Now, as far as the women, there's definitely a girl scene. Cuba is definitely a prosexual society. When I was in college, I took a sociology class, had a little blurb about prosexual, anti-sexual societies. This is a prosexual society. Meaning, you have the option to pay for it, and basically the price back then, it could be anywhere from $30 to $50. But a lot of the girls there, because they were flocking from out of town, it was an open place. They were there to pick up on you. So you would get, I remember I was getting picked up on a lot. I had girls like, you know, whistling and going, oh, Chico, and all that. Then they were going up to me, talking to me, just asking me, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? And all that. And of course, when I told them, because everybody thought I was Canadian, I told them, no, I'm from the States, I'm from LA. And they'd be like, oh, wow, trip out. So that was their agenda. Their agenda was just like, and they would ask me, it's like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Can I be your girlfriend for the week or for however long you're here? And that's kind of what you're looking for. So in a sense, you didn't really have to pay, They were just kind of looking, not really to marry, and not like the Soviet Union or Russia, not really looking to, to marry you, to get the F out of the country. But that's what I ended up doing. I ended up with a camarera, one of the girls that clean your hotel rooms, because we didn't stay in a resort. We stayed in a small little room, and the way Steve, he booked me and him in the same room, and it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? We're just going to bring girls back, and, I'm going to fuck my broad like 3 feet from you fucking your broad on your bed. Created a problem. But he invited a bunch of camareras, the girls that cleaned the rooms in the hotel. They came in the room. They were actually, I guess they were about ready to get off. They were drinking and kind of eating. And then Steve said, oh, one of these girls wants to have sex with you. So I thought, all right. He pointed out, and I agreed. And I was within 2 hours of landing. Within 2 hours of being at the hotel, and I didn't even say a word to her. I didn't have to say a word to her. And she's like, yeah, Joe, this girl wants to have sex. And I go, really? She doesn't know my name. She hasn't met me. So if that's not prosexual enough for you, then I don't know what can be. And I didn't pay her. She ended up being my girlfriend for the whole week. Which means, okay, what does that mean? It means basically there's a few nightclubs, discotheques. The girls, they'll hang out with you. If you're willing to go out and party, which I was in my 20s. I was 24 years old at the time. In 1995, I was 24. And yeah, I was into the party scene. I was into going out and quieres bailar and all that. So, you just sort of pay their cover, maybe buy them a drink, and then maybe buy them some food and all that. That was sort of the deal. So I ended up sticking with one girl, which was kind of a mistake, because I counted. Right after I got home, I counted. It's like, you know what? I had 11 other girls try to pick up on me and wanted to be my girlfriend. I thought, fuck. And I was stuck with the one girl. It was okay, but, I can't lie to you. I wanted a little bit more of a variety. And she had a friend, a real cute blonde, my age. She was a little bit older, and I wanted to fuck her so bad. Her name was Linda Barbara, but I had to play it cool. I couldn't really mess around, but yeah, I mean, you either had that choice, or you can pay for it, and all that. But that was then, and it was just swimming. It was just swimming with women, because they had it open at the time. But there was a change. That's why it's a 2-part series, so stay tuned for part 2. But all in all, yes, it's definitely a prosexual society. Like, I'll make one last point. Where she took me, because she took me out of there, so I gave Steve the hotel room so he can have privacy, so he can, bang his Cuban chicks. She took me down to a couple. It was just right down the street, maybe about 200 yards, no, not yards, 200 feet, literally from the hotel. But the couple, they were married. They were kind of a younger married couple, a little bit older than I was. Maybe they were like 32 or 35, but they had 2 young daughters. They had maybe a girl, two girls. One was probably maybe 8 or 9, and the other one was maybe like 11 or 12 or 10 or 11. And they were all living in one house, and they rented out a room to me, and I paid like $10 a night. And it was crazy because I was there and I was banging this chick. You know, now you tell me, in the United States or Canada, if any married couple with 2 daughters would rent out a room to horny fuck like me, a horny 24-year-old fuck like me for $10 a night, and I'm just in there, and you're just fucking all night. They wouldn't do it. That's the example. That's the evidence, my friends, of a difference between a prosexual and an anti-sexual society. I couldn't believe it myself. But $70, I was there for a week, and that's what the hotel cost. So, if you can, do it. It's worth the trip. Make your way to Cuba when you can. Give me an update. I don't know what it's like 17, 20 years later. But anyway, this concludes the video. Like, subscribe, do whatever. Do what you got to do. Stay tuned for part 2. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye.